What's up, guys? It's Austin from Yu-Gi-Oh! Theory, and today I have a deck profile of my deities. The deities are a very good deck. They're not as consistent as they used to be before link rules. Used to, you could get out some crazy boards. Now you can get out some still crazy boards, just not as crazy, but it's still really consistent. Because you can use cards like Card of Demise and Allure of Darkness and Trade In. I don't use Trade In, but you can use it. So let's just get right into the deck profile. First, I run 3 of the deity Oblivion King Abyss Ragnarok. He's really good. I never use their scale effects, so that's not really that important to me. But its monster effect is if it's normal or special summon, you can special summon another deity monster out of your graveyard. It's only once per turn. Its second effect is you can pop a face-up Dark Contract or deity card on the field and then banish one of your opponent's monsters. It does target, but it's still also really good. Helps get around Beals. Beals is a very popular card these days. Really wish I had one, actually. Don't. Beals is really good in this deck. Next, I run 3 DD Savant Kelper. Basically, you just normal summon or special summon it, and then you add a Dark Contract from your deck to your hand. Most of the time, you're going to want to add Gate. It's your searcher. So this deck has a lot of searching. And this just helps with your playmaking most of the time. It's one of the main cards you want to see in your hand. Along with that, you also want to see DD Swirl Slime in your hand. What you can do is you can send it and another DD monster to the graveyard diffusion summon, and while it's in the graveyard, you banish it to special summon one out of your hand. That second effect comes in handy a lot, and so does the first one. That's why I run this one at 3 and the other one at 2. Next, you run 2 DD Savant Thomas. It's really good. Most of the time, I just special summon it out using Swirl Slime's effect, then pop a scale to special summon another 8, and I usually go for either another one of it or Abyss, depending on what I have left in my deck if I hadn't banished it already. It's a really good card to overlay with. I run 2 Rebel King Leonidas. I could probably cut this to 1 or cut it out completely because I don't run very many of the Dark Contract cards anymore, but I just run it just because it's a level 7, but so is the Arc, but this is a little easier to get out than the Arc, I guess. But it's still really good. It stops you from being burned. I run 2 Copernicus. Copernicus is good for setting up plays, but I like Kepler a little better, so I only run it at 2, and I run Kepler at 3. But it is nice to always have that option to just normal summon it and then ditch one from your deck to your graveyard. I run 2 Lamnia, because most of the time I'll try to overlay, because the overlays and the deities are really good. The synchros are really good too. Honestly, the level 8 synchro pool for the deities that they can get into is probably better than the rank 8. But I have more of the rank 8s they can go into instead of the synchros, so I usually just use 2 Lamnia. But I'd probably bump this up to 3 Lamnia if I got like a Beals or a Crystal Wing or something like that, but I don't have that, so just imagine you having one in this deck. I run 2 Necro Slime just because it doesn't come as in handy, because it only has the one effect of banishing from the graveyard diffusion. So it's decent, but it's still pretty good. Next, for spells, I run 3 Dark Contract with the Gate. It's your searcher. You just activate it and then search a deity monster, and then it burns you for 1,000 during your standby phase, but usually you can pop it with Lamnia to get rid of it before it burns you, so that's always helpful. Next, I run 3 Allure of Darkness. This is your main draw card, but not your only draw card. I'm sure you know what it does, but just in case, you just draw 2 cards and then banish 1 dark monster from your hand. And if you don't have any to banish, then you discard your entire hand. I run 2 Pile of Desires. Banish 10 cards, draw 2 cards. It's a really good card, actually. At first I didn't like it, but I'm actually starting to like it a lot. It adds consistency to a lot of decks that don't have any consistency. I run 1 Dark Contract with the Swamp King, because it's good, but you're not fusioning something nearly as much, so it's not as worth running, so I only run 1. So yeah, I run 1 Twin Twister. I was running 2 Twin Twister, but I decided to put in 1 Heavy Storm Duster and then 1 Twin Twister because I kind of want to see how good Heavy Storm Duster is because I don't really know for myself. So I just put it in there kind of to test it out. 1 Dark Hole. If you have a Regeki, play it instead, but I don't, so I just use Dark Hole. 1 for 1. Really good for getting out your Keplers to start setting up plays. and I think you can is Lamia too. I think it is, but or actually I can check real quick. Never mind, that's one. So yeah, you can get out Lamnia with it. One Foolish Burial to send your Lamnias and your Swirls and sometimes your Ragnaroks. You can pretty much just send anything there to plus off of it. That's it for spells. Now for traps, I run 2 Lost Wind, but if you're dueling Dracos, I suggest taking out these Lost Wind and switching out for Forbidden Chalice because most of the time they make it immune to traps, and Lost Wind's a trap, so it's not going to work as good. But just remember that if you're dueling Dracos, just switch it out. I usually keep Forbidden Chalice in my side deck. Next, you just run the Solemn Brigade, 2 strikes and 1 warning. Really good combination. 3 strikes is a little obsessive, to be honest. 1 warning and 2 strikes is good enough. 1 bottomless. I could take this bottomless out for something else, but I really like bottomless. And since Pendulum is coming a little bit back into style with the Pendulum Magicians being really popular, I think this could come in handy. The 1 heavy Storm Duster. Instead of discarding, you just activate it during your opponent's turn. So it's a little slower, but you don't have to. It's not a neg 1. It's a +1, I guess. And then 1 Dark Contract with the Witch to round off the main deck. It's just really good for spot removal. Next, the extra deck. I run 2 DD Duo Dawn King Kali Yuga. He's really good. Just 2 level 8 DD monsters. Special summons out. You can detach 1 to pop basically just nuke everybody's backboard. It's really good doing that, especially against pendulums and things that use spells and traps a lot, like Paleozoics come to mind, and so do Dracos, but I guess they'd get their effects off of it, so it's not as good. Unless you have, well, whenever he's normal summon, all effects after that are negated, so I guess, yeah, it would be pretty good. So, and then the second effect, you can detach 1 to add a Dark Contract from your graveyard to your hand. 1 Zombie Stein. I'd probably run 3 Zombie Stein, but I only have 1. Or probably 2 Zombie Stein. Because Zombie Stein is a really good monster. You just need 2 level 8 Dark monsters, which is easy to get. 4,500 attack, which is really ridiculous. And once per turn during the player's turn, you can switch one of your opponent's monsters to defense, and it has its effects negated. So it's really good against a plethora of different monsters. I run 1 Wave High King Caesar. I actually haven't even been able to get it out yet because it takes 2 Genghis. So it's a little hard to get out 2 Genghis, but it does happen sometimes. So you can get him out. But he's really good. He's basically a walking solemn warning, or solemn warning, I think. So that's always good to have a walking solemn warning. I run 1 DD Dragon Bane King Beowulf. He's just a really easy fusion to get into. He does piercing. He's good. Really good to overlay into if you need to do that. I run 1 dark. I'd probably run 2 dark maybe, because it does help you get into Beals because it's level 7. But so is Leonidas. But I'm thinking about taking Leonidas out of the main deck. So if I do that, I probably will run this at 2. But for now, it's just at 1. This is supposed to be 3 DD Flame King Genghis, but apparently I can't find my 3rd one, so this is just gonna be 2 and then a proxy, so you know it's 3. 2 Curse King Siegfried. You could cut this to 1 if you wanted to. It's just a thought. I'll run 2 just because I don't really have anything better that I could run. I run 1 DD Dust King Alexandra. He's really good actually by himself. Besides just going into Crystal Wing, he helps extend your plays a lot. I don't have a Crystal Wing, but whenever I play in tournaments, I can borrow a Crystal Wing from one of my friends, so it does help to have it in here. And I can borrow a Beals too from one of my friends, so it helps out. Just imagine that this is a Beals, and imagine this is a Crystal Wing. So it should help since this is wind, so is Crystal Wing, and Beals is dark, so that's dark. So just imagine this is a Beals, and that's a Crystal Wing, or that's a Crystal Wing, and that's a Beals. And then just 1 Decode Talker. That's what that is. I don't have a Decode Talker, strangely enough. And I know what you're thinking, who doesn't have a Decode Talker? But I don't, so. Because I didn't really buy into the whole link thing at first. I thought you could just kind of play around it. But I ended up being wrong, so I guess I'm paying the consequences. Well, I knew you weren't going to be able to play around it forever, but I thought I could play around it long enough until they came out with better links. So it would be easier to actually use the link mechanic, but that didn't work out like that. I think they will come out with better ones eventually and make it better, but for now we're just stuck with the ones we got. So that was my deck profile. If you liked it, I guess like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. It helps me out doing what I do. And you don't have to take this deck profile as like a literal, this is how you should make your deck. It's just a suggestion. Build it how you want to build it. If you have some crazy build that's does crazy things, then I guess that's cool too. But anyway, guys, it's been Yu-Gi-Oh! Theory.